And now the top 5 desperate wrestlers who asked their fans for money. They say that hindsight is 20/20, and it can be hard to say that the Kamala gimmick was anything other than a racist caricature some 30 years after the wrestler named Jim Harris was at the peak of his fame. Regardless of the origins behind the character, the fact remains that Kamala was a main event star for several years in the WWE, and longer than that in most territories throughout the South. Kamala had high-profile feuds against legends like Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Jerry the King Lawler, and of course The Undertaker, and although he never won any major titles, his name will forever be etched in wrestling history. Not long after his days in the ring were over, Kamala learned that he was tragically suffering from diabetes and was forced to undergo a double amputation, leaving him without legs. Due to the amputation, Kamala has found himself completely unable to work. Adding to the fact that he was already suffering financial straits, which were only made worse by his health problems, in 2014 a GoFundMe page was created in his name, with the results thus far already reportedly lifting the spirits of this previously destitute athlete. Considering the fact that he spent the majority of his career working alongside the Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase or his friend and actual millionaire Hulk Hogan, fans might expect that Virgil was able to save himself a pretty penny after his decades in the wrestling business. However, that's not the case. And rather than try to rebuild his life, Virgil firmly entrenched himself into his reputation as a beggar, creating perhaps one of the most outrageous crowdfunding campaigns in the entire entertainment world. While every other wrestler on this list at least had some reason to ask fans for money, Virgil brazenly went to GoFundMe and asked fans to give him $1 million for no other reason than the fact that he just wanted to have $1 million. Unsurprisingly, more than a year into his campaign, Virgil remains nearly $999,000 short of his goal. The personal problems of Jake Roberts have arguably become as well known throughout the wrestling community as any of his accomplishments in the ring. That said, his accomplishments in the ring were nothing to scoff at, as there was a period when Jake was one of the most popular and mysterious stars in the entire wrestling world. Roberts is arguably the greatest superstar never to win a championship in the WWE, although he still managed to etch his place in history through his legendary feuds with superstars like Rick Rude, Sting, Andre the Giant, and Randy Savage. Jake's drug problems started overtaking his life in the late 80s, at which point he rapidly deteriorated in the ring. Jake finally started piecing his life together when he began receiving help from his old friend DDP Diamond Dallas Page, who helped Jake experience the longest stretches of sobriety he has managed in decades. DDP turned Jake's life around, and in part through a steady regimen of exercise, which started to become a problem when nagging shoulder injuries were preventing Jake from working out at all. At DDP's insistence, Jake went to the internet and started an Indiegogo campaign to pay for his surgery. In addition to being one of the earliest examples on this list, Jake's campaign was also one of the most successful, raising more than 3 times the stated goal and easily paying for Jake's surgery. As dangerous as a wrestling career can be to a person's body, it hardly compares to the toll of a lifetime of drug and alcohol abuse. Scott Hall's struggles with substance abuse started just under a year prior to his entrance into the wrestling business, when he committed second-degree murder in self-defense, a crime he was never able to forgive himself for. Hall nevertheless was able to turn into one of the biggest wrestling superstars of all time, changing the business in an instant by invading WCW on behalf of the NWO, and forever changing the course of the Monday Night Wars. Hall also won a plethora of championships during his great career and was inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame in 2014. Due to his exploits in the ring and the damage drugs did to his body, Scott Hall desperately needed hip surgery in 2013 and felt he had nowhere to go for support. At the encouragement of Jake Roberts and DDP, Hall created an Indiegogo campaign of his own, which ultimately raised over $100,000 to pay for his hip surgery and additional urgent dental work. It's safe to say that Scott Hall's road to recovery is far from over, with lapses here and there, but the journey will no doubt be easier for him now that he knows that his fans are 100% behind him. In an industry where even the safest performers can end up in the hospital in seconds due to a badly timed move, earning a reputation as homicidal, suicidal, and genocidal sounds like a surefire way towards an outrageous healthcare bill. Not surprisingly, Sabu, the superstar who earned these nicknames throughout his long tenure in FMW and ECW, not to mention shorter stays in WCW and WWE, found himself in that exact scenario when he recently discovered his years of putting his body on the line meant he desperately needed hip surgery in order to get a full night's sleep without searing pain. In addition to being one of the most dangerous and death-defying wrestlers in modern history, Sabu has always been a man of few words, and therefore he needed some convincing before asking his fans for help. One of Sabu's most noteworthy accomplishments accomplishments came when he won the ECW Tag Team Championship with his partner, Rob Van Dam, who remains one of his closest friends in life. Despite Sabu's insistence on dealing with this issue by himself, RVD took it upon himself to take to the internet and create a GoFundMe for Sabu, which as of today is still significantly short of reaching its goal. If you like this video and you want to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below to tell me what you want to learn about wrestling next.